Want America is all about Hillary Clinton. She will be facing off against the Donald in the national election. Before I bring Tanya in, I want you to take a couple of glances at some footage concerning Hillary Clinton and also take a quick listen to some of the things that Donald Trump has said.
It is apparent that Donald Trump does not seem to grasp any of this. He has been fixated on the phrase, and I quote, radical Islam, as if those are magic words that once uttered will stop terrorists from coming after us. And he wants to ban all Muslims from entering our country and suspend immigration from large parts of the world. His comments have become even more inflammatory in recent days. This approach isn't just wrong. It is dangerous, and I want to emphasize and underline this. Of course we want to keep our country safe. Of course we want to work together in order to do that. That should go without saying. But I want to underscore we rely on partners in majority Muslim countries to help us fight terrorists. We need to build trust in Muslim communities here at home to counter radicalization and the lone wolf phenomenon. And as has been pointed out, the terrorist in Orlando was not born in Afghanistan, as Trump claims. He was born in Queens, New York, only miles away from where Donald Trump himself was born. A ban on Muslims would not have stopped this attack. Neither would a wall. I don't know how one builds a wall to keep the internet out. So not one of Donald Trump's reckless ideas would have saved a single life in Orlando. It's just more evidence that he is temperamentally unfit and totally unqualified to be commander.
Leaders have to get tougher. This is too tough to do it alone. But you know what? I think I'm going to be forced to.
Donald Trump ready to turn his back on GOP leaders, threatening to go it alone if they fail to fall in line.
We have to have our Republicans either stick together or let me just do it by myself. I'll do very well.
The biting response coming after days of backlash from Republicans refusing to back Trump's proposed Muslim ban in the wake of the terror attack.
Don't talk. Please be quiet. Just be quiet to the leaders. Because they have to get tougher, they have to get sharper, they have to get smarter.
House Speaker Paul Ryan continuing to rebuke Trump's views.
I actually think a Muslim ban based on religion is counterproductive to our efforts to fight terrorism. We believe in the First Amendment, which is freedom of religion.
Trump touting that he can move the NRA on restricting terror suspects from buying guns after this week's terror attack.
I'm going to be talking to the NRA about that and starting a real dialogue. I want to really hear what they have to say. They've endorsed me. They're terrific people.
The NRA says it welcomes the meeting, but maintains its opposition to an outright ban. Trump going as far as to say that if more people were armed inside the Orlando nightclub, fewer would have died.
You would have had a situation, folks, which would have been always horrible, but nothing like the carnage that we all as a people suffered.
Hillary Clinton firing back, questioning Trump's legitimacy as a candidate.
Not one of Donald Trump's reckless ideas would have saved a single life in Orlando. It's just more evidence that he is temperamentally unfit and totally unqualified to be commander-in-chief.
All right, Tanya, our Eye on America, Hillary Clinton is what we're talking about today. Very interesting topic, and I want to delve into a couple of different issues related to Hillary. But first of all, we have to talk about this dislike factor. There are people out there who support Hillary Clinton, but there are also a lot of people out there who, for whatever reason, dislike her. Sometimes it's based on the fact that people feel like she lacks integrity or she may be a little dishonest. Some people don't have confidence in her capabilities, but this dishonesty factor seems to be the major factor out there that is affecting her electability. What are your thoughts about her character issue? Because it's something that's very interesting I ask people about the character issue, and they have different ways of responding.
Yeah, I think primarily the whole honesty and her character has to do with people really not doing a lot of research on who she really is and her qualifications. And I will say that I was one of those people who had not such a positive view of Hillary being one of our candidates, but after doing my own personal research, my perspective has changed. So I think a lot of that comes from people really not doing their own research.
Yeah, I hope people do take a look at some of those issues. The focus has been on Benghazi and what happened in Benghazi, and even through the hearings related to that event, there were questions about her integrity, whether or not she was giving the American people the true story about what happened in Benghazi. But she came through the hearings process basically unscathed and has moved on. But there's still a lingering idea that maybe she was a little dishonest about what happened there. And then there's this other issue about the emails. And we hear it come up all the time about whether or not she lacked integrity in terms of how she managed the emails that contain sensitive content on her server. So those are issues that are out there. But when you ask people to articulate what in the Benghazi situation or the email situation causes you as an individual to question her integrity, you're hard-pressed to get a good answer. I don't think people really know whether there's a true connect between those issues and her trustworthiness. And a lot of it may be that the media has kind of fed this concept that she's not a trustworthy person.
And that's true, I would agree with that. But there's an underlying concept that people really don't talk about that I think plays a factor, and that's by the sheer fact of Hillary being a female. No one's really given a lot of verbiage or discussions around it, but underlying, I think that has a lot to do with it.
You know, it's interesting you say that because she was, of course, the wife of an American president. And some of the trustworthiness issue arises out of Bill Clinton's issues when he was president.
Yes.
And not only whether or not he gave a true story concerning the Monica Lewinsky issue to the public, but whether or not she supported a false dialogue related to those issues when she was the first lady.
Sure, guilty by association.
Guilty by association. And so, you know, it's easy to understand why there's a level of distrust. The question is whether or not these issues are so profound that they should affect how we perceive her as a potential president, because I would suggest that almost every presidential candidate has issues here or there that would cause you to question whether or not they've given us the true story throughout their entire career.
Sure, but I think now it's transcended beyond her trustworthiness. I think it is now we have a Donald Trump who, to me, is just incapable of being our next president. And then you have a Hillary Clinton who has a host of experience, as you've talked about before. And so you weigh the two, and she clearly is the better option.
Yeah, you know, you look at it, you say, well, there's this lingering trustworthiness issue, but then you have to look at her experience. And I would argue that she's the most experienced candidate for president in our country's history. She served, quote unquote, as First Lady for 8 years, 2 terms when Bill Clinton was president. She has served as the Secretary of State, obviously, and during one of the toughest times to hold that position in American history. And she also was a senator. So you've got a situation where she's got this massive amount of experience in public office. Do you think that the electorate out there has gotten an opportunity to fully understand the amount of experience she brings to the table and how that might benefit the American public if she is elected president?
No, I think that they have a clearer understanding,
Yeah.
and you can see that in the numbers.
Yeah, and it's interesting you use the term clearer, because now you've got a situation where the election has moved past the primary process, where you've got multiple candidates in each party having an opportunity to talk and dilute. Now it's mano a mano. It's
Exactly.
Hillary versus Donald.
Exactly.
And she gets an opportunity to articulate without so much noise out there what her true credentials are versus the Donald. The other thing is this, you know, now that you've got this chance to talk about her background and experience. How do you think that really sizes up against Donald Trump? It's interesting. Donald Trump really has no experience as an elected official.
My personal opinion is he has to be one of the most unqualified candidates that we've ever had, quite frankly, running in the election. And I think the more that Hillary talks about her experience and what she brings to the table, it shows the American public that he is so far removed from being the ideal candidate for the role of the president. So yeah, we're at a good point, especially for Hillary. I think she's come a long way.
Well, isn't it interesting? He's a master of distraction. He has been able
absolutely.
to shift the dialogue from a discussion about his background and credentials and his knowledge of issues, both domestic and foreign, to sort of this discussion about individuals and their personalities. And I think you're going to see Hillary, as a very experienced politician, shift the dialogue right back to experience, being able to handle a crisis. And I think we saw some of that experience at play
Recently.
and that lack of experience
Yes.
at play concerning Donald Trump, concerning the Orlando
Orlando,
shootings. And I think as we move along, we're going to see a lot more of the divide in experience between the two parties. I guess the final analysis or the final question revolves around whether or not Hillary is the type of person who should be in the White House. We'll reserve our opinion for later about whether or not she should win or whether or not we would endorse her. But do you think that she's the type of person who could be in the White House and be a successful president?
No, absolutely. And as I said on the onset, I wasn't quite sure who I would vote personally for, but just purely based on experience, I think that she would be a good individual to lead this country.
All right, and I have to say you're going to have two votes right now concerning Hillary's fundamental ability to lead the country here on our Eye on America. I believe that they've used the word temperament. I think she definitely has the temperament to be a good leader, but also her experience is going to be critical. These are tough times domestically,
Yes.
but they're even tougher times in terms of foreign policy, and I think that she's the correct person to lead our country through these turbulent waters because of her experience, most importantly as Secretary of State. So that's it on our On America, a discussion about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. We have given our tentative early endorsement for Hillary here in terms of her credentials and her ability to lead us successfully. We look forward to additional discussions with you about the Donald here in the coming weeks.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's Our Eye on America featuring Hillary Clinton. So next week, look forward to a very interesting discussion on Donald Trump.